Welcome to the third week of 6 Weeks to Burn. This week is all about abs.
All right, so we're going to start with a basic crunch with our knees bent, feet flat on the mat, head down. Before you begin, try putting your hand right across your belly, and as you come up in a crunch, you want to feel that your abs go away from your hand, not into it. So you curl up and down. When you come down, try not to fully release, so there's no arching. And the neutral spine means that your side body is on the mat, your abs are engaged, and there's a small, tiny bit of space right above your sacrum, but you can't see it from the side view. So most of the time when people do crunches incorrectly, they're arching and flaring at the bottom, and then they're rolling and pulling on their head on the way up. So try to find one focal point the entire time. You're looking down at your abs or your waistband, for example. Inhale down, exhale up. So if you want to make your crunch a little bit more challenging, try not to come all the way down and fully release. You can come up and you can pulse. In general, pulsing usually makes things a lot more challenging. And then you can change the way that your legs are positioned. So you can crunch in tabletop, you can crunch with your legs straight up, you can bring one leg down or both legs down, making sure that you still have neutral spine, pulsing, and then setting down.
Next, we're going to talk about two of my favorite ways to work the obliques. They're pretty simple in terms of the technique, but they're very challenging and very effective.
So starting with a classic oblique twist, you want to first engage the abs by drawing your shoulder blades up. Then you're going to do a twist. It's like if you can imagine that your obliques are a towel or your abs are a towel and you're wringing them out. So you're drawing your right shoulder towards the left knee and then your left shoulder towards the right knee. Try not to lead with the elbow so much. Think more about the shoulder coming up towards the knee. And remember that you're not simply rolling from shoulder to shoulder. You want to lift up first so you're engaging, then twist. And then the other way is you can bring your hands down, you can keep them behind your head. You want to curl up and you're going to hold this position the whole time. And you're going to do more of a tilt. So you're bringing your left fingertip towards your left ankle, the outside or the inside. The inside is much more challenging. And you're just kind of staying elevated and tilting left and tilting right. Pulling in. If this is too much for your head, neck, or shoulders, you still want to stay elevated and just think about your armpit sweeping around towards your hip. Okay, so it's not so much as a twist as it is a tilt. Your gaze is towards your navel and you'll feel deeper through the side body.
And now we're going to talk about how to get into the perfect plank position. Okay, so you're going to start on all fours. If you have a wrist issue, you can come down onto your forearm. If you don't have a wrist issue, try doing it on both palms. Make sure your shoulders line up right over the wrists and your hands are about shoulder width apart. You start on your knees, draw the belly button in without changing the shape of the spine. So never tucking and never arching. Find that neutral spine. And then you're going to bring one foot back at a time and the other. So this is your classic plank. The belly button is drawn in, your gaze is down about a foot in front of your middle fingers down on the mat, and you're just holding it. And if this feels like too much strain on your wrists, you can always come down onto your forearms, making sure that your elbows are directly below your shoulders and your hips are square. If you start to fatigue but you want to keep working, simply drop to your knees and rest. And when you feel strong again, come back up. This way you're continuing to engage your obliques. So you're going to start out on all fours. You can place your wrists directly below your shoulders, and if your wrists have too much strain, if you feel too much strain, you can come down onto your forearms. You just want to make sure that whatever is on the mat is below your shoulder, okay? So come onto all fours, knees are underneath the hips. Engage the abs without rounding, so you don't want to round, you don't want to arch, you want to find your neutral spine position, which includes your neck. So your gaze is down on the mat, in front of your fingertips, and just bring one foot back at a time and hold. If the plank feels like too much and you need a break, drop down onto your knees, hold here. You're still working your core, and you can remain here or you can try to come right back up into your plank. And next we're going to talk about side plank. Okay, so you want to be on your side, making sure your body forms a straight line. You can be on your hand or your elbow. I prefer my elbow. So I'm going to start on my left forearm. My left elbow is directly below my left shoulder. My legs are straight. And you pretty much just lift your body up, okay? You can bring your arm up. You can put it here. You can put it behind your head. And you can even put your hand down if you feel like you need a little bit of support.
What's really important is that your shoulder is stacked over, or your shoulder is stacked over your elbow or your wrist, and your hips are stacked. So a lot of times people tend to lean forward or they lean back. So you want to keep your right hip stacked over your left if you're on your left side. Now, ways to modify: you can bend your bottom leg, sort of kickstand it, and extend the other leg. Okay? You can also bend both knees, or you can stagger your stance. And now that you are all experts on how to work your abs properly, we're going to put all of those moves together into one fantastic sequence that you can do at home. So we're going to start with 50s, called 50s because you do 50 of them. You start with your knees bent and your feet flat. You do 10 crunches up, keeping those abs engaged, gaze towards the navel. And then you bring your legs up to the tabletop, drawing the inner thighs together. Exhale, you should come up. And then extend your legs straight up. Back down into tabletop for 10. Try to keep those shoulder blades up. And the final 10, feet back on the ground. Perfect. Next, we're going to come into bicycles for the obliques. So we're going to be doing that twisting, the wringing of the abs that we talked about earlier. So you're just going to go straight into your oblique set, side to side. Keeping your legs active. Shoulders up. We're going to do 20 each side. We're going to put our head down, feet back on the mat, arms down, hovering above the mat just like in hundreds. Exhale, curl up, and we're going to begin reaching to the outsides of the ankles. 10 each side. Gaze is towards the navel. And then we're going to reach inside and feel the difference. You should feel that it's deeper and more challenging to reach towards the inside of your ankles. 5 more each side. You can always put your hands behind your head. Good. Okay, coming into a left side plank to continue that oblique work. Personally, I like to put my left knee down and extend my right leg out. It helps me keep my hips stacked, and I feel like I'm able to come a little bit higher, and I really, really feel my left side when I do it this way. So basically, and then you can bring your leg up, you can get a little bit of glute work. But you find the plank that works best for you. You can be on your hand, you can be kickstanded on your feet, or you can have both feet stacked. Next, we're going to come and do a traditional plank, but we're going to make equal signs with our arms, because this is a great way just to continue moving, to stay in our plank, and to go from one side to the next. So I'm essentially in a forearm plank with my arms stacked. And then from here, I'm just going to shift over to the right side, dropping my right knee, sending my left leg out, really feeling that right side body. And then I'm going to come back down into the equal sign plank, bring my body up into the traditional plank, and hold for 30 seconds. Okay, drop down onto your knees, roll over, and then we're going to go back to crunch sets, making it a little bit more challenging with the way that we move our legs. So I'm going to start with my legs up this time, and I'm going to crunch up, then I'm just going to scissor the legs, one at a time. Inhaling down, exhaling to lift. Try to keep that spine neutral, side body's on the mat. Gaze is towards the navel. 10 more. And I'm going to cross my left foot over my right knee and continue that twisting oblique work. Right shoulder coming up and over towards my left knee. We're going to do 15 each side. Exhaling as we really bring out those abs. If you want to make this more challenging, you can lift your right foot up. And then switch, crossing the right foot over the left knee. 15 of these. Up and over, making sure you don't roll from one side of the body to the other. Lifting that left leg to make it more challenging. We're going to roll right back over into a plank. Again, stacking the hands or the forearms on the mat. Good. We're just going to lift one leg at a time. This creates a little bit of stability work, just challenges your core that much more. And you don't want to swing your leg up, you're just going to lift and lower. If you want to make this more challenging, you can always soften your elbows, working your obliques, and make sure you clench your glute as you do this. Clench your glutes as you lift and lower. 10 more seconds.